Hello, today we're going to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of implementing a DNVB model and contrast it to traditional retail outlets. Firstly, let's look at some basic key characteristics of DNVB and distinguish it from e-commerce businesses to eliminate confusion. As the name entails, DNVBs are born and mainly operate online. DNVBs are companies that have absolute control over the manufacturing, brand management, and supply chain, are vertically linked, and have no middlemen or third parties involved. DNVBs have a stronger focus on branding and community building. It is all about the customer experience. E-commerce, on the other hand, may have a little overlap with DNVBs, and some brands may be both, but fundamentally the two are different. The huge gap lies between the unit economics and brand experiences of DNVBs and e-commerce. The e-commerce channel serves as an enablement layer for DNVBs, not the core asset. In simple terms, an e-commerce business is a business model where the buying and selling of goods or services are done over the internet.
Thank you very much, Melanie, for defining the concepts of DMVBS and e-commerce. Now I will be making a little introduction to brands we will be analyzing today, Goyard and Jacquemus. So Maison Goyard is a 200-year-old Parisian manufacturing company focused in the sector of luxury trunk and leather goods such as handbags, which prides itself on achieving exclusivity via only offline sales. Desire is hidden by mystery, and Goyard's business is largely via word of mouth from eminent high-class clients and collectors. The company only has 35 stores in the whole world in cities such as Singapore, Los Angeles, Monaco, etc. And it only offers 12 distinct crafted handbag totes, which vary in prices between 1,500 and 3,500 euros. On the other hand, we have Jacquemus, a relatively new high-end clothing and handbag brand that sells luxury and affordable premium price with high-quality leather bags that vary in prices from 450 to 950 euros. The manufacturing company only sells online since it has a strong social media presence and but has only opened occasional pop-up stores during fashion weeks. Therefore, the brand sells only through website or through retailers.
Now I'm going to explore the business model and the cost structure of Jacquemus. The margins of Jacquemus are upwards of double that of its competitors, such as Goyard, which will be later discussed in this presentation. As they own the full supply chain, they have more control over the price and therefore higher gross margins. By outgrowing the traditional business model, they cut down a hefty part of the costs involved in the middleman, which would bring them less or no profits at all. As a DMVB, they are very focused on the needs of the consumers by utilizing the data that they possess at their fingerprints. Instead of blowing a lot of cash on customer acquisition, Jacquemus invests in brand experience to increase customer retention, loyalty, word of mouth, and enjoy a higher lifetime value. Once a paying customer is acquired, Jacquemus cross-sells and upsells them into different products and categories, leading to an increased transaction volume. Although they do not possess a chain of permanent physical stores like other luxury brands in prime location, which actually allows them to have a lean cost structure with low fixed costs, they still attempt to bridge the gap between old-fashioned retail stores and online shopping, such as the example of 24/24 vending machine, which you can see on the slides. These vending machines not only provide a unique customer experience, but they also allow products to be sold in multiple locations at a lower cost than traditional retail stores because except costs that are associated with restocking the vending machine, labor costs are virtually zero. Also, recently, Jacquemus opens its first pop-up stores in Paris and London for the upcoming fashion weeks. And although Jacquemus requires a lot of marketing, branding, and direct material, and now with the opening of the stores and the vending machines more than before fixed costs, they are value-added costs. However, the lean cost structure enables it to easily expand during prosperous times and contract when finances are under pressures. It means that more likely the reserves of Jacquemus will last longer during dire financial circumstances and crisis. This will allow the organization and give them more time to find its feet, reposition itself, and secure other income streams.
But yeah, as mentioned before, it's a high luxury brand that seeks for exclusivity at all times. Therefore, their chosen cost structure perfectly depicts their brand culture. They only sell on physical stores, and also they only have 35 stores all over the world, which makes it even more exclusive. Selling only offline nowadays could be seen as risky, but it's not the case for this company. The customers that they reach are usually by a word of mouth and people that love to go through the customer experience. Since they only sell in stores, they have very high fixed costs, which are higher than their variable ones because they don't have a lot of marketing costs. This is a very big advantage for the company because it enables them to depreciate their costs due to their very high revenues with an average of $25 million a year. However, the disadvantage here is that if they have low variable costs, it means that if sales drop, their costs are harder to maintain. All of this could be very well portrayed in their SWOT analysis. Their strength here is the consumer loyalty, and their weakness is that the lack of promotion and the lack of channels to get to customers. As for opportunities, they have their history and the recognizable pattern. And finally, we have the threat that it's that their competitors that are part of very big companies like LVMH have a larger market to reach. Their consumer behavior is their customer loyalty and the word of mouth. Okay, so the main difference between the DNVB and the offline companies is that is their costs and the audience reach. So by having an online company, their fixed costs are lower than the variable costs, and in the case of having some decreases in sale, the company won't suffer as much as the offline company. As for the capacity to reach customers, the DNVBs like Jacquemus reach a larger market due to having more means and easier accessibility for customers than Goyard. However, buying an expensive item is usually better to buy it offline because online it's harder to see it and harder to spend so much money in something that may not.
Hello everyone, so today I will be talking about the implications of using an online strategy for Jacquemus. So firstly, not having any physical stores can be a pro or a con. So on the pro side of not having any physical stores, they lower their fixed costs. What does this mean? Well, they don't have to pay any rent for any local or locals. So they have no rent, no electricity bills, no wages or salaries to pay for the people working there. And then their furniture, for example, doesn't appreciate. They do save on a lot of fixed costs. However, there is a negative trade-off, and is that eventually they can lose some sales. What do I mean? Well, people that have a high budget, that are wasting this much money, that are using this much money to buy a product like this, have a high product portfolio and have high purchasing power. So they can pretty much buy any product they would like in this price range. So what does this mean? That physical stores really count in this type of level of purchase. So because customers like to go to the store, see the customer service, see how they are treated, see the unboxing experience, feel, smell, and see the product and even hear it as well. So, and all these things add up to the purchase of the product, right? And do add value to the product at the end of the day. So not having a physical store makes Jacquemus miss on that, which is a big point. They do miss. However, they do compensate with other things. For example, accessibility. It's easier to purchase the product. You can purchase it online. You just need access to internet connection. You can buy it. Payments are much easier and much swifter because you just use credit cards. You get instant payments. So there's no delay in any payment. And you're more competitive as a business because you are competing 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because the internet never closes, unlike stores. You're always selling, you're always available for customers, and you have a much wider approach because you can reach anywhere in the world. So those are the advantages and disadvantages of an online only strategy for Jacquemus.
Now to summarize, Jacquemus started out as an online-only brand, and within the past decade, it has become one of the most recognized luxury brands of the century. As we have seen, they have a great online-only advertising strategy with a strong brand identity with which they are able to reach a larger spectrum of people and create strong ties with their customers. It's the perfect example of a highly successful DNVB brand. We also studied the business model of the brand Goyard, which showed us a completely different structure. Goyard, also a high luxury brand, is an offline-only brand that focuses on exclusivity, word of mouth, and creating personalized experiences for their buyers. One of the biggest differences between Goyard and Jacquemus is the contrast between lean cost structures and heavy cost structures. Goyard spends no money on variable costs such as runway shows, whilst Jacquemus has made social media and mesmerizing fashion shows a key part of their brand identity. Meanwhile, when it comes to fixed costs due to primarily selling online, Jacquemus spends a lot less money on costs like rent, while Goyard does. These two brands are mirrors for the differences between physical and e-commerce businesses. Digitally native vertical brands, which Melanie introduced, are the businesses of the future and are taking over the market. So it's important to keep in mind the benefits and disadvantages. The pros of having a DNVB brand include being able to have control over your company as a whole, from the quality of the products to customer service. They have direct access to customer data, and they get to make their brand image and content more personalized to their vision. Jacquemus takes advantage of all of these benefits, establishing itself as a unique, fresh, and innovative luxury brand. The cons, on the other hand, include the disadvantage of having a highly competitive business model, since they have to manage the whole process from manufacturing to delivery. But as we have seen in the cost structure, Jacquemus has been able to direct the operations diligently and even use it to take the upper hand in the business market. Overall, we see that the MPP brands are the future. As Bellagio explained, although there are several aspects of standard offline selling that give it a uniqueness and competitive advantage, the NPPs compensate for them in several other ways that will eventually become the new standard. Thank you for listening and hope you enjoyed our presentation.